Right now I'm just painting the edges here of the knee. This is the knee joint that's going to go in this area, and it is exposed through these holes right here, so you'll see it, and if I don't paint it, it's going to just be white like this. So I figure I'll paint that. The edges needs a couple of coats. I'm using my brand new Everlasting Wet palette from Redgrass Games, which I absolutely love. I can't believe that I ever lived my life without this. These paints have been on there, let's see, gotta be more than almost a whole week now, and they are still wet, and I'm still able to draw from them, which is amazing. My previous wet palette was a homemade one, and it was garbage. It's actually pretty simple, and I guess it's okay if you're just starting out with hand painting with acrylics. All you really need is some parchment paper, paper towel, or I guess the Europeans call it paper tissue, and a Tupperware or a container of sorts, plastic container. I actually still have mine. It's off screen right now. Hang on. Let's see if I can grab it. Mine is just this plastic container. You can see the water droplets on it still because I was literally just using this up until I got my Redgrass Games one. And it just has latches on it. It's plastic, it's not going to leak out. You layer some paper towel or paper tissue in there, and you put some parchment paper down on top of that. You soak the paper towel, and then you put your paints directly on the parchment paper. And what a wet palette does is it allows the water to seep through the parchment paper to keep your paints hydrated. And that's why it only really works for acrylics, because they are water-based paints, and it will keep them nice and hydrated so they don't dry out. The homemade ones work okay, but this Redgrass Games one is absolutely amazing. This is a 1/100 scale Kshatriya from Gundam Unicorn. It was made by Reader. I don't know who did the original cast, but this is a UC cast, which is one of the better castings. I got it from Samuel Decal. He's got pretty good prices. This was under 200, I know that. It's probably closer to 125, something like that. But the sheer size of it, I mean, this is just one leg. The detail's pretty good. I do not recommend this if it's your first resin kit, because it will drive you insane. The newer castings are a little bit better when it comes to fitment. This one's not horrible, but I'd highly recommend a heat gun and a lot of patience, and probably some putty. So I think we're just about done painting this knee. We're going to have to let it dry. And we'll come back when it's totally dried. Okay, so this is Somber Gray, Game Air by Vallejo. That is what I used for the gray parts of the frame and the foot. It came out really nice. It's got like some blue tones to it, which is nice, and it actually complements the other colors pretty well. This is the Hexed Lichen, which is that darker purple. I know in the bottle it almost looks black, but it is just that nice dark purple that you see on here. This is the Warlord Purple, and that is that almost pinkish color that you see on here, which surprised me because, you know, it says it's purple, but it does look a lot more pink than purple in my opinion. This is the Warlord Purple again. This is not an air, this is just Game Color by Vallejo. This is not an air paint, so it's a lot thicker. This is what I used for touching up some areas when I was hand painting. This is Magic Blue, another just Game Color, not an air. And this is what I used for all these little accent details. You might not be able to see it on the camera. Let me turn it. All these little accent details and that stardust splatter effect that you see all along the parts. That was done in an airbrush, which this is my workhorse, my main airbrush here. This is a Badger 105 Patriot. All I did was I took the Magic Blue, put it in the cup, turned the PSI down on my compressor to, I think it was around 15, might be even a little bit less than that, might have been like closer to 10 or 11, and I did not thin it at all. And if you know anything about airbrushing, especially with acrylics, you have to thin your paints, otherwise you will get exactly this effect here, which is a splatter. The paint won't be thin enough to be fed through the nozzle on the needle, and it will splatter out everywhere, which in this case was the effect that I wanted, so that worked out nicely. Next, we have a blue wash and a red wash, both again from Vallejo. These two I actually mixed together to create a nice dark purple wash, which you can see dried up in my little well right here. That is what I used for the panel lines, because black would have been too harsh, but the purple, it's still nice and dark, so it makes those panel lines pop, but it kind of goes with the overall color scheme still, which is nice. Keeps it all together instead of kind of dividing it. I think it came out excellent. Okay, now I'm going to be attaching the knee part to the leg itself, which it literally just, there's two slots here, slides right in, and then it gets pinned with this little guy that I was just painting before, which now has nice little gray edges. Slides right in. Oops. You gotta wiggle a little bit just to find the proper, make sure everything's lined up. Dropped right in there. Now I just have to get it to go through to the other side. We're in. Positioned. And we'll take our little homemade little push rod doohickey, and might have pushed it a little too far there. We did. It's all about finding the sweet spot. I did make it a little hard on myself by gluing this part on. I was too excited when I was pushing it all together for test fitting, and I think we're okay right there. Let's see, do we take some of the paint off? Nope, that's just a piece of that. And now the leg is on, but as you can see, it moves way too freely. That is tough. So what we'll end up probably doing, drilling through here on an angle, and probably putting a pin in, because I don't think glue will hold this. If you're looking at this, this is literally just the leg. So it is a massive, heavy kit that has to go on top of this. So I think we will pin that and keep it nice and sturdy. Just have to decide what angle we want the leg to be at before we do the pinning. Probably, honestly, more than likely, straight up. Maybe a little bit cantered, but I don't think we can go wrong with it straight up. So, with that being said, I think we can glue this piece on. Let's just do a quick test fit to see what it looks like as far as being able to get in there and drill that hole later on. I think we're okay. I think we can glue this bad boy on. Let's set that down over here. Make sure the pin is nice and cleaned up. We'll take a little bit of glue. I like to use the Loctite Super Glue, the Ultra Gel Control. I find that it does really, really well. Put it a little bit right in there. If we have any left. Oh, just about the last of it in here. We'll take our handy dandy toothpick friend and just kind of spread it around in there so it gets the whole thing. Let's slap this sucker on. Make sure we don't have any glue on our hand, so we don't want to get any glue on the paint. I know with lacquer you can kind of get away with that, enamel, stuff like that. You can get the glue on because then you can just sand it down. But with acrylics, they are not as forgiving. Let's see, we're having a little bit of trouble here with the fitting. I think it's from the pins, but I think we got it to go. Almost there. Alright, we are in and glued. Beautiful. That is a completed leg.